Hi there, I'm Alessandra Latour, a leadership expert with over 15 years of experience helping managers just like you transition from feeling reactive and scattered to becoming confident, proactive, and strategic leaders. Through the Latour Leadership Academy, I empower overwhelmed or growth-oriented managers, whether newly promoted or experienced but struggling to balance demands, with the tools, strategies, and coaching they need to shift from day-to-day firefighting to long-term strategic thinking. In this podcast, we dive into practical ways you can develop an authentic leadership style, build strong team collaboration, and create a productive, positive work environment. Together, we'll tackle the challenges of managing time, teams, and priorities so you can lead with clarity and confidence, not just solving today's problems, but driving sustainable growth for yourself and your team. If you are ready to stop feeling reactive and start stepping into your role as an authentic, strategic leader, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving into a workplace trend that's been making headlines for the past couple of years: quiet quitting. You've probably heard this term thrown around, but what does it really mean? Well, at its core, quiet quitting isn't about employees actually quitting their jobs. It's about them mentally checking out. It's when team members do the bare minimum required, disengaging from anything beyond their job description. While some may argue that this is simply about enforcing boundaries and protecting work-life balance, others see it as a warning sign of deeper problems in workplace culture. So what does quiet quitting mean for leaders? How do you differentiate between a team member who's appropriately setting boundaries and one who has lost all motivation to contribute? And most importantly, what can we do to re-engage our teams without fostering burnout or resentment? In this episode, we'll explore the realities of quiet quitting, examine its root causes, and discuss how leaders can create an environment that encourages meaningful engagement rather than passive disengagement. Let's start with some numbers to understand the scope of quiet quitting. According to a 2023 Gallup study, 60% of team members report being emotionally detached at work, and 19% are actively disengaged. This means nearly 2/3 of the workforce is operating in a state of disconnection from their roles, their teams, and their leaders. And the cost is staggering. Disengagement costs companies over $500 billion annually in lost productivity. When team members mentally check out, their creativity, problem-solving abilities, and willingness to contribute beyond the basics all take a hit. That's not just an HR issue, it's a bottom-line issue. But here's the nuance. Some argue that quiet quitting isn't necessarily a bad thing. Rather, they say it's a reaction to toxic work cultures where employees feel overworked, undervalued, or stuck in environments that don't support their growth. From this perspective, quiet quitting is actually a form of self-preservation rather than an act of disengagement. So if you're a leader, how do you navigate this? How do you recognize when a team member is quietly quitting because they're struggling versus when they're setting boundaries in a healthy way? One of the biggest challenges leaders face when it comes to quiet quitting is identifying disengagement without making assumptions. It's easy to assume that someone doing the bare minimum is simply uninterested in their job. But disengagement often stems from a lack of clarity, purpose, or support. So instead of jumping to conclusions, we need to take a closer look at what's driving the behavior. Another challenge is balancing accountability with empathy. Yes, team members need to contribute to the success of the organization, but we also need to acknowledge the personal and professional challenges our team members are facing. Are they feeling undervalued? Are they burnt out? Do they lack growth opportunities? Addressing these concerns is just as important as setting clear expectations for performance. Finally, quiet quitting is often a symptom of a larger systemic issue within an organization. If team members don't feel heard, if recognition is lacking, or if workloads are unfairly distributed, disengagement will naturally follow. Leaders who only focus on individual cases of quiet quitting without examining their team culture may find themselves in a never-ending cycle of turnover and low morale. As with most leadership challenges, there are two sides to the quiet quitting conversation. On one hand, some leaders argue that team members need to be held accountable. Work is work, and every team member is expected to contribute. They believe that quiet quitting is simply a lack of effort, and that team members who disengage are failing to take responsibility for their own professional development and career growth. On the other hand, there's a strong case that disengagement is a reflection of leadership and organizational culture. Team members don't quit jobs, they quit bad bosses, toxic work environments, and roles that don't give them a sense of purpose. If a team member is quietly quitting, some argue that it's on leadership to ask, what about our culture is driving this disengagement? So which perspective is correct? Well, the truth is both are. Leaders need to set clear expectations and hold team members accountable. They also need to create an environment where team members feel valued, heard, and motivated to contribute. So rather than reacting to quiet quitting with frustration, leaders should view it as an opportunity to reassess how they engage and support their teams. Here are 3 practical steps to address disengagement and build a more connected workforce. Step 1, conduct one-on-one check-ins to understand employees' experiences. Quiet quitting isn't always obvious. Some team members may be performing well on the surface, but feel completely disconnected from their work. Regular one-on-one meetings can allow leaders to gauge employee sentiment, identify concerns, and offer support before that disengagement sets in. Try asking open-ended questions like, what excites you most about your work right now? What's one thing that would make your job more fulfilling? Or how do you feel about your current workload and responsibilities? By actively listening and responding to your team members' needs, you can build trust and create an environment where team members feel safe voicing their concerns before disengagement takes root. Step 2, reassess workloads to ensure fairness and alignment with strengths. One of the biggest drivers of quiet quitting is feeling overworked or undervalued. If team members believe their workload is unsustainable or that their contributions aren't recognized, they're far more likely to disengage. We should regularly evaluate task distribution within our teams, ensuring that workloads are fair and aligned with team members' skills and interests. In some cases, reassignment of responsibilities, redistribution of tasks, or additional support may be necessary to prevent burnout and frustration. Step 3, foster an open culture where feedback flows both ways. Team members are far likely to disengage if they feel like they have a voice in their organization. Leaders should create a culture where feedback isn't just something given to employees, it's something actively sought from them. Encourage your team members to share their thoughts on company policies, leadership effectiveness, and workplace culture. Whether it's through anonymous surveys, open forums, or regular team discussions, making your team feel heard can be a powerful way to maintain engagement. Step 4, take proactive steps with leadership coaching. If you're struggling with disengagement on your team, you don't have to figure it out alone. Our leadership coaching sessions through Latour Leadership Academy help leaders develop strategies to create a culture of engagement, accountability, and trust. Whether you need to revamp your leadership style, strengthen team connections, or address systemic issues, we're here to help. Visit latourleadershipacademy.com to learn more. Quiet quitting isn't just about employees disengaging. It's about what organizations are doing or not doing that causes them to check out. Leaders who take a proactive approach by fostering open communication, balancing workloads, and creating an environment where employees feel valued can turn disengagement into re-engagement. So, as you think about your own team, ask yourself, are you creating a culture where people want to give their best, or are you inadvertently driving them toward quiet quitting? Thanks for tuning in. If you found today's episode helpful, share it with a colleague who might benefit, and be sure to subscribe for more leadership insights. See you next time. Thanks for tuning into this mini-sode. If you're looking for more practical leadership tips and strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing insights to help you elevate your leadership journey. Before you go, don't forget to head over to latourleadershipacademy.com to grab your free resource. It's packed with actionable tips to help you lead with confidence and clarity. Want to keep growing your leadership skills and inspiring your team? Head to authenticleadershipunlocked.com to join our newsletter and get exclusive leadership insights and action steps delivered straight to your inbox every week. I appreciate you spending time with me today. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you back here soon.